Welcome to yet another episode of Mr. Vamos Dissects. Well, I'm rocking the KCCA jersey because I've been a KCCA fan from my early days in campus, yeah? Very many people have been asking me about my opinion on the Uganda Premier League and the controversy that has been going on in the Uganda Premier League. Well, I'll just give you guys what I think. I'm not going to really go through the format, say no to the new format. I'm not going to take you guys back to the new format because that has been news that has been going around over the past couple of months or so, and then finally the league got to start. Yeah. So in today's episode, I'm just going to give you guys what I think about the format. Maybe just a brief of how the format is now, how the format was, and maybe what's my side in this whole situation. Yeah. For those of you that are new here, please don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to probably also tell me what you think you want to know about, maybe what you want me to expound about in the line of football majorly, because maybe I think that's my niche, that's what I understand the most. Well, the controversy about the new Uganda Premier League format, it all starts when I think the FUFA president, I don't know where he got the conviction from to maybe switch up a few things here and there. We already had a controversial into the last season where we had new trophies being shipped in from, I think, Europe. That's the new Uganda Premier League trophy and then the new Uganda Cup trophy. Yeah. Well, about the design and all that, this is not my position to make, but I think the trophies that we had, for example, for the Uganda Premier League before was better than the new one that was brought in. Yeah, still a controversial decision to me because I don't think all stakeholders had something to say in maybe those trophies being shipped in. But about the new Uganda Premier League format, for starters, from where we're coming from as the Uganda Premier League, this is a league that has, I think, 18 teams participating inside there. Yeah, 18, 16 teams participating. And now I think we don't really have the resources properly in the Uganda Premier League, aside from, I think, URA, KCCA, Vipers. Villa was struggling for funds last season, but it's still a historical club. Express still struggling. And then maybe Chitara, which has the drug lords. Okay, not drug lords, but it has the oil money from Hoima. There's a lot of things that happen in that Chitara side, but I think they actually have the paper inside that one. So aside from those sides, aside from those teams that I've mentioned there, I think most of the other teams are struggling to maybe keep up with the standards in payments and salaries and all that. So the biggest question would be, with the new format coming in, the new format brings in the idea that teams are going to increase the number of games that they are playing. I'm taking you from a position where teams are already struggling to pay their players, maybe allowances and salaries and all that. And then now this is a new format that has been broken down into 3 rounds. Teams play the first round, the top teams, the top, I think, 8 teams, and the bottom 8 teams, they progress to the second round. Yeah. So when they progress to the second round, of course, I think this is trying to like increase the competition in the Uganda Premier League, which I think is a good thing. Because if you want to be the very best in any competition, you're supposed to be ready to play all sorts of games to maybe see the quality that you have. So progressing to the second round, I think teams also begin to play for positions inside that one. Yeah, we're trying to get the best teams in the second round and the worst teams in the second round to find a number of teams that are progressing to the third round. Now, in the third round is when they begin to play another bit of competitive football. Yeah. So the guys in the first round that played each other from home change, and now they reciprocate and begin playing away. Yeah. So I think this is good for football. Yeah. If you look at the format, it's good for football. Yeah. Because I think teams are going to play very many games than they have been playing. But at the end of the day, that means that the financial muscle that the teams has is going to be stretched a bit. Yeah. We're taking you from a position whereby we have clubs in the Uganda Premier League that are demonstrating, the players are demonstrating they're going on a strike because the team is not paying them money like that. And now you're putting them in a new format. But interestingly, these are sides that have all opted into the new Uganda Premier League format. But just like I said, I think stakeholders need to have a say in all these things, yeah, because I think for the Uganda Premier League, I think the major stakeholders are the fans, yeah. And now, if the fans don't attend the matches, then I think the whole football thing we're playing is not something. I was watching the guys. I was following up on some of the games that are taking place at the Nachi Football Stadium. Well, boy, I think there was a big investment inside that stadium. There was a big investment in regards to facilities, infrastructure. It's a nice pitch, sizable pavilion and all that, but it's really disastrous to watch games unachievable and you can do a head count of the fans. Yeah, if the fans get in there and begin saying 1, 2, 3, I'm fan number 5, 6, you're probably going to find yourself with about 50 fans. And now recently that stadium has been having University League games taking place there. That's what shows you that people are not really booking at the stadium because guys are not conversant with the format. Yeah. And then I think the whole saga that might be there in this whole format is because I think Lawrence Molindo, who is the former president of FUFA and the president of Vipers Football Club, which I think is the biggest entity or the household name of Ugandan football, opted out of the format. Yeah, because he's citing chances of teams giving away games. He's citing chances of unfair results. He's citing chances of maybe this format makes it hard for some teams to play because there's going to be like a lot of politics and buying of games and all that. Well, I think he had a bit of valid reasons inside that one. But when I get into the whole conversation of Molindo and Magogo, I think Molindo makes some credible points about like the whole format and all that. Yeah, because in his argument, he says that in the investment that he's made in Vipers, he really has a stake or really has a say inside that whole format and all that. Because this is someone who was the former president of FUFA. He'd been there for a long time. Yeah, he was at the helm, and Magogo was actually under him. There's a photo that people were sharing recently of Magogo in the side, and Molindo at the helm of everything. And I think things were moving pretty well. And he actually came through and said, "I'm not taking another time. Another term. Let me go and cook sports at Vipers." Yeah. Personally, for me, I'm Team Lawrence Molindo in this whole scenario because I think he also had a complaint that when they won the Uganda Premier League and then they won I think the Uganda Cup, their money had not yet come through. But based on how I've been seeing, I think there's been like a few games here and there. FUFA comes through and says that, subject to what Lawrence Molindo has said, he's lying. We actually paid all this money to these guys. But then when you look into the message says that somehow they made like a partial payment and then they're still looking to make another payment of the money. So it actually shows you that the payment didn't really come through in full. So somewhat it almost means that the claims are actually true. Interestingly, the winner of the Uganda Premier League from the seasons before was making 20 million, I think. But Lawrence Molindo, who is the president of FUFA, of Vipers, actually went on to give his boys 16 million shillings after they won the Uganda Premier League. I think there's levels to these things. I think that shows you that if a president of a club gives his team 60 million shillings for winning a trophy, of which that trophy is giving you 20 million, and the money hasn't yet come through, I think there's levels to these things. Another thing that's scandalous about the whole new format is it shows that there's going to be a huge amount of money that's going to be spent during the whole new format thing. FUFA says it's going to be rewarding a man of the match for every game, 100,000 every game week. FUFA says that now in the gate collections, they're going to have a percentage of money that they're getting from the clubs. First of all, these are clubs that are already struggling, and now they're making money from gate collections in terms of revenue. But then FUFA wants to have a bit of that. I think it's pretty selfish from FUFA, the ruling entity, the governing entity of football in Uganda, to have a stay in the finances of a team. Some of these teams are struggling. There's been a controversy that maybe FUFA might have bribed some of these teams to take part. To a lesser extent, I'm going with that because I don't see how a team that has just come from a second division comes into the FUFA's into the major league here, and they are going to be able to play all those games, yeah? Because I think there's levels to these things. By the time you're promoted from down to here, you're going to find when the expenses have increased, yeah? You're going to be traveling from, let's say, Gulu to come and play from Vipers, and then you go back and all that, yeah? But somehow I don't think these teams are going to be in position to have the financial muscle to pay that amount of money for maybe trainings, traveling, and all that. I don't think so. So somewhat, I believe that money must have come through to all these clubs instead. There also had a controversy of the Chitara president who had actually left seat coming back. And of course, he's been having like words for like the president of Vipers, which has been crazy to watch. Well, I think it's been disastrous to see the number of fans that are going to watch matches. And interestingly, for FUFA, they've been channeling all their energy on their socials and saying it's the fans on social media, on Twitter majorly, that want to boycott the games. But well, in the games that were there this week, I think you guys have been seeing the numbers that have been going to the pitch, because let's say the fans on Twitter are not actively engaged in watching matches, which I think is a lie, because you've actually gone to watch games inside there and you're finding the guys who are tweeting on Twitter actually live on the stadiums, and they actually support their sides. Yeah. I don't know how many guys have been seeing going to watch KCCA games, Vipers games, and all that. So, which means the fan base is actually a solid. But I think until FUFA takes down the pride, I think until the FUFA president's ego calms down a bit and he lets I think he consults from all the stakeholders to see what they think, because at the end of the day, if these matches are being watched without fans, then I think even the players are demoralized, because if you're a footballer, you're not about to be playing football and you're probably going to celebrate a goal and you're looking in the stands, you can't even do a celebration for anybody because there's no people cheering you and all that. Yeah. I had some information about the KCCA camp where some players are going AWOL. There's a player that was playing for KCCA. I think he was called Gui from Angola. I think the man vanished. The man went AWOL. He's actually going to pay, I think, he's going to pay KCCA about 13 million Ugandan shillings. Yeah. But I think it doesn't end properly with teams continuing to play games without fans. Yeah. A side that I love so much, Neck Football Club, which has, I think, some of the players that I like so much. Paul Muchurezi is a guy that I support and like. So this is a team that I also support inside the Uganda Premier League. Well, I think they have a pretty nice jersey inside that one, both home, away, and alternate. Yeah, but if these sides are taking part in this competition and they cannot have fans watching games, then we're in big trouble. Yeah, it's controversy about the Star Times sponsorship, which I think during the week there was controversy that was cleared by Aldrin Insuvuga, someone that I respect so much. And then the other week he came and changed his whole conversation about the whole sponsorship. I don't know what changed in between the few days he was on set and the next time that he came back on set to do what. But interesting, this is a person who maybe moved from KCCA and changed allegiance to another side. Well, of course, I don't know his reasons and all that, but still, it goes without saying that I think we just need, if we can make amendments to the new format and take it back to where it was, because the main problem here is that I think FUFA wants to tap into the money that teams are already struggling to make, which does not make practical sense to me, because I think after the football season ends and they've used all this money, I don't know if these clubs actually have financial statements or audited accounts to see if they actually, if maybe 5 years from today, the club is going to be running and all that. So I think at the end of the day, I think these sides, I think the CEOs of these clubs need to sit together again and come up with an idea, yeah? Because still, I think Vipers not participating in the Uganda Premier League is a very big miss for Ugandan football, yeah? Because Vipers also has a very big fan base. I think KCC and Vipers have the biggest fan bases inside that one. And I think also from the players' point of view, I think these players are demoralized, but they're not speaking about it, yeah? Because now a player scores a goal, FUFA TV broadcasts the goal that he scored, but it only ends there. Back in the day, would probably be maybe making noise about a player scored a beautiful goal. Ivan Imbisiwe scored a replica of the goal he scored for Uganda Cranes for KCCA the last time out. But the goal ended there. We're not talking about it again because the fans are not happy about the whole system. So I end by saying I don't think I'm for the new format. I think I'm Team Lawrence Polindwa. I don't know what you guys think, but I think the fans are the biggest stakeholders in the Uganda Premier League. Personally, I'm not going to watch any game in the Uganda Premier League until maybe things are put in order, because I think Ugandan football, everything originates from us having full participation, both as fans, the players as well, their families and all that, yeah? Because now another equation would be if Vipers doesn't take part in the league, what happens to their players? Are they going to sell them? I think we'll let Lawrence Bolindwa cook and all that. Tell me what you think about the new format. Whose side are you on? What do you think about it? I think that's all I can give you about the new format. Vamos, we go again.